So 28.
Next item to talk about on the agenda under budget review is the overall 2018 budget.
Yeah.
Yes?
Even if I just may add, what I'm looking for too, if you could, is a vote on the total today, so we can start including your vote in with that warrant article.
That would be page 16 here, correct?
Those are the totals, yeah.
3,728,655.
Let's see,
No, 3,741,000.
805, and you want to add, what, 500 to that you added
Plus
today?
the 500 we put in today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any other, as we talk about warrant and revenue, there's nothing that will change this bottom line, correct?
Not that I know of.
Well, Karen, you're just interested in the selectmen's budget? 'Cause that's,
Yeah.
But yes, please, and
Okay.
then we'll do budget committee tomorrow.
right.
I have on my page, with today's approval, the new Board of Selectmen budget total is $3,741,555. Is that right or wrong?
That's wrong.
That's wrong.
Yeah, that's wrong.
It's
Okay.
3,742,305.
With the $500, yeah,
Right.
and 24 cents.
Yep.
Where'd the 24 cents come from?
One of Chief Thompson's quotes.
Jesus.
So
At 24 cents.
3,742.
42, 305 and 24 cents.
Don't we normally just round it off?
Is it in a payment? Is that what it is? Karen?
Well,
I don't know offhand, I'm not
No,
sure.
it's shift coverage.
it's,
Is that what it is?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Fire department.
fire department.
Police officers.
Fire department salary and shift coverage is what's in here to the 24 cents.
Did I not round that to the,
Yeah.
When you
Well,
bring
somebody
your
didn't
budget-
round it when he submitted it,
Yeah,
so
when
we
you bring
just
your budget
stamped it
forward.
and stamped them on.
usually try to round them down or up, whichever way it has to go.
On page 16, I'll move the Selectmen's 2018 budget, operating budget request be 3,742,305.
And no cents.
Correct.
I'll second
It's
that.
just that's gonna screw up our bookkeeping.
Is there a second?
That's our second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
I don't know that at this, and I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this, but I'm not sure at this late date we can make that 24 cents go away without adjusting a lot of other lines.
I'll give you a quarter.
No, that's not the issue. I mean, you've got like-
Right.
There's like
Right.
7 or 8 lines that have
Uh,
got pennies.
Yeah, well, they're all in the fire department budget, so we can we'll do that.
You wanna do that?
Yeah.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So, but you got the initial motion on the table, and we'll go to the other ones.
Yes.
So, I don't know if it's gonna work. You're
So,
gonna, you think you can make the math work out exactly right there, William?
well, maybe we should do those first, and then we'll have an exact number to work with, but, I mean, it's, if you wanna leave it at 24 cents, that's fine, either way. 6.
What is your,
Can we table this motion that we've got on the table for tabling? We overused the word table.
If you want, I'm just thinking of it going to the budget committee tomorrow, that's all, I guess. Or an article, because you know what I mean, but whatever you think.
Well, or we can just leave it at 24 cents if that's,
Well,
my only
so moved.
philosophically,
So moved, 24 cents.
philosophically, the issue I have with a budget that goes to pennies is it implies a level of precision and control that doesn't exist.
Correct.
And, you know, it's not like we spend it down to the last cent. What we got from you was a result of calculations that were done, and in dealing with them, we should have just adjusted it at that point. All your backup comes to those pennies, but
Right.
the reality is, we're not gonna spend an exact number of pennies. If we're not quite right in the budget line, we're gonna go over that, but you know what? As long as it's within our total, it's no big deal. So, it's not on you, it's on us.
Are we
We
ready?
Yeah, so
understand
it's,
Are we ready to vote?
we need to reduce the fire department budget by $1.24, and then we need to work on the police. If you want to do it that way,
that. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
Let the budget committee do it that way.
right.
all right.
You know,
So you've modified your motion
Yes,
to include 20%?
Yeah,
you know.
all right.
We'll do something. with-
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Nice job.
Don't ever bring a budget here again with pennies.
Pennies in it.
No pennies.
So,
Should have learned that from previous years.
There you go.
under continued business, 2018 warrant, what needs to be finalized today?
You need to vote on a couple of things.
Yeah, I put some highlights
Okay.
in front of the ones.
Karen, we're all set on Article 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What about 5? You have something highlighted.
That is just the budget committee vote that
That's
we'll
budget
revisit
committee.
tomorrow. So I think the
6,
first,
7, 9 is budget committee, might want to revisit that, right?
yeah, just 15,
10.
I think.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Yeah, begins there.
And this wording we have on page 3 of the draft is what DRA recommends.
That's correct.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. On the next page, 4, new article needed for selectmen to vote on, Article 16.
I will move.
Do you want to read it into the record?
Hmm?
Do you want to read it into the record?
Yeah, go ahead. Someone go ahead.
I will move an Article 16 to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $318 to pay a third installment toward the ambulance vehicle and rescue truck acquired by a town meeting vote in March of 2016. The principal amount of $82,843, and the interest is $6,475. This lease agreement contains an escape clause.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Under discussion, this is required by DRA, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Okay, are we all ready to vote?
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Can I ask a question about, can they make a decision to pay off the lease?
A town meeting?
At the town meeting?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
They'd have to have the number though, because they have to make a specific request. So we need to,
And then the next one, we need to do exactly the same thing, correct?
What next one?
the total budget.
Final budget number?
We just need to tell her what the total budget number is.
Right.
And I don't think you voted on that, to be specific, I don't think you voted on this warrant article yet because we didn't know the amounts.
Right, but we did vote on the amount,
That's true. Yep, that's true.
which Lloyd calculated. We argued about it.
Well, and we can't vote on 17 yet because the budget committee hasn't come up with their number, right? The number that we have from the budget committee is without some items that we've requested additions to, so there is no budget committee number.
Well, we can, yeah, but we can include the selectmen number.
Yes, but
Just gotta-
the article includes
Two
both.
numbers, Right.
You make a good point. I wonder if we just put the selectmen recommend, I'll check, but the selectmen recommended amount, I think, and then the budget committee vote. I don't think the selectmen vote. I'll check.
We just voted on $3,742,305.24.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to vote to have.
Do we need to vote it again?
Warrant article.
I don't think so. I will verify for you.
All I'm submitting is that we can't vote on Article 17 until we have final action by the Budget Committee, because that's their number goes in that as well.
We all set? Karen, you all set with us on this page?
Yes, thank you.
You're all set with us.
And everything in the warrant's fine, the article order, everything's good, right?
There will be another article coming from planning board, but that goes
On the ballot,
after
right?
Article 1.
That gets voted on.
It gets
by
voted on
secret
voting
ballot.
day, that's correct, but it is a separate article that will show up before the town meeting articles.
Okay. So the order will bump a little. Okay.
So, yeah, it will.
Next is, under continued business, is 2018 revenue.
Just confirming we have it right and everything. I think we're good, but.
So does this reflect the,
Which one are you looking at? 3,144,875.
Mhm.
Is that what you're looking at? Okay.
right? But, we've got the items that we just moved from the operating budget to the article for the fire apparatus. Does that reflect that change?
I did ask about that, and where that's new funds to be raised and appropriated, it's different. It's not being taken from capital reserve or anything. Does that make sense? I did ask Diane about that, to see if that makes any, because it wouldn't be included as a,
Oh, I see, okay.
yeah.
Uh,
Some things were taken out of the unreserved fund balance, so they had to be on here, but, or capital reserves and whatnot.
Yeah, this is the,
And this gets reviewed after town meeting anyway, to reflect how the town meeting votes.
Right, but what we're talking about is what we're gonna put on the MS 737 before the budget hearing. So I don't know how this is different from what we looked at last week, is my only question.
it's different in that we added $4,000 for the sale of the code enforcement truck,
Right.
an additional $400 or $600 from milfoil.
Oh, okay,
So those two things changed, and we also reduced the income below the 1176 by 50,000 because we took that out, that warrant article off the books. So we had talked about taking 50 grand out of undesignated fund.
right, right.
Bring it into a
Oh,
different
for the
fund.
healthcare
Yep,
issue?
So that, you take it out of one side, you gotta take it out of the
Right.
revenue side
Yep.
as well. So I think this is exactly right, actually, but if you wanna review it, I'm fine with that too.
No changes then, right?
No.
Anything under continued business, Karen, you need to be brought up. You need to speak on.
I think I'm good, thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to selectmen's updates. Go ahead.
Budget meeting tomorrow night. On the
You're primed and ready?
Excelsior, right? Yeah, I think it's fine. And I've looked at the implications on the taxes. I think it's all very manageable. We should be able to wrestle our tax rate to within where it is right now, or maybe 4 or 5 cents. People get scared of the big numbers sometimes, but they don't look at the big picture.
Mhm.
So we'll see how it goes. I don't know if I can convince the one vote against the fire apparatus to change his mind, but I'm certainly gonna try.
There was also a couple, I'll vote against Jack's vehicle.
I think they did that because they thought the price was a little too high. I don't know that they think it's not worth trading.
Right.
And and there was no reflection of the value.
Right.
And we may or may not trade the truck, and we may just put it on the open market and sell it.
Exactly.
But we needed to put something on the revenue side, so the real net cost gets down into the low 20s, which is a
Sure.
reasonable number for
Yes.
replacement. It keeps it for 10 years, and 10 years is long enough.
I like your idea that maybe we ought to consider in the future 8 or 9 years. At what point is the diminishing returns? So,
Well, clearly, in the last year and a half, we've seen a fair amount more repair expense on that vehicle, which suggests
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
that an 8-year cycle may be more appropriate. But, you know, we can crank that into future planning.
any updates?
There was I don't remember the exact words, but a roundtable group on the drug issue that was scheduled for tomorrow up in Tamworth that I was going to attend. Apparently, I had an email that it's been pushed off to March 6th. Something going on at the state government that is going to impact some of this stuff, and the roundtable folks are like, well, there are so many questions that are unanswered at this point in terms of how we move forward next that they're pushing off for a month. So that's not going to happen tomorrow. I think that's the only thing I have at this point.
All set?
Yeah.
Just current events to pass on to you. Larry Gill, on our Conservation Commission, and some people have been working very hard to work with Jim Bean and his beaver, and they've come back in the outlet on the lower part. So, and he reports that there's a beaver problem in the waterway, and I offered to pass it on. Could you let Jim know that?
Mhm.
These were private citizens spoke to me, and were not adversarial, but it has to do with police enforcement of parking issues. Several residents have commented that there is an ongoing parking problem on Bay Road at the town beach on weekends. They also reported that there were issues when they were there a couple of weekends ago getting emergency crews to a medical aid call during a recent permitted event. They also pointed out that parked trucks with snowmobile trailers parked in the roadway. I've made 3 trips down there in the last 2 weekends, and they're just reporting the issues. Could you please share this with the police chief?
Mhm.
Notice that the chief gave us some statistics, annual statistics. Karen, do you have a copy of either January or December's hours from the police department?
No.
Would you please make that request? Thank you. Recently I attended the Selectmen get-together, the Northern Lakes region, and we talked about catch basins, and we also talked about electrical energy. We signed a cooperative agreement, and on the last page, as I understand it, there's a column that indicates what our anticipated savings will be for this year. Am I representing it correctly, Bill?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And this is savings for,
Electricity.
I know, but just the town's
This is,
building.
this is, right, town accounts.
Not the town-wide
No,
electricity.
this is, we signed on with a third-party power supplier, and we are currently paying, I think it's about a penny and a half less than what the co-op charges for energy. Now, we still pay the transmission charge and the system. There are a number of charges in there that we pay to the co-op that are independent from what we pay for the power. But it reduced the amount that we're spending for power by about 1.7 cents. So the projection based upon past annual usage is that'll save us around $1,800–1,900 a year, which is in the neighborhood of 20%. Doesn't mean that our electric bill from the co-op is going down 20%. It just means that that piece of it that's the energy charge is reducing by 20%. So it isn't huge money, but it is. It does represent a savings in this group, which is 16 towns and 6 school districts went into the cooperative buy, did it for a 1-year term. My understanding is that you do better on a longer term contract. When they did it this past year, the idea was, hey, let's try it for a year. Just like we do with a lot of things, you try it out, and if it works out well, if there are not too much hardware and too many wrinkles associated with it, then you can, when it's up for renewal, you can go for a longer term, which locks in your power charge at a fixed rate for several years into the future, it replaces a varying rate, which tends to be higher in the wintertime, with a fixed rate all year round. So again, $1,900 is the projection based upon past usage, and we'll track what's going on this year. It doesn't seem like huge money, but it's a little bit here, a little bit there.
And when people read in the paper that Moultonborough is saving $5,000 on their electricity, it's because they're using 3 times as much electricity as we are. The rate is the same for everybody. I mean,
Yes.
the city of Franklin's gonna save $39,000. The town of Moultonborough's gonna save
Now,
17, or the SAU's gonna save 17,000. But it's the amount of electricity used. We don't use it.
Volume, Johnson.
some of the participants are on the co-op. Some of the participants are serviced by Eversource, the former PSNH. Those that are on Eversource save a lot more money because Eversource's electricity charge is a lot higher. So they save 46% as opposed to 21%. We all pay the same amount for our electricity. They've just been paying a lot more along the way than we have. But yeah, good point. They save more because they spend more than we do. And
Make it up in volume.
and those communities that are on Eversource, those communities on Eversource save a lot more because they could pay a much higher charge.
Well, it's like dieting. Every day we save a pound.
Yep.
Shed a pound. Anything else under Selectmen's update? Let's go on to correspondence. Our standard mileage rate is up for 2018. It's 54.5 cents for every mile. IRS, that's up 1 cent. Do we need to officially accept this by the Selectmen, or we just put it in effect?
I don't know, does our policy reflect that we reimburse at the IRS rate, or is it, does it, reflect that we reimburse at a specific rate.
I can't remember, but I think it's IRS, but I don't know for sure.
So, yeah.
Well, we need to have a policy, and we have to vote on a policy, or it becomes.
Well,
Right.
so we've had a policy. The question is, and I don't have it in front of me, is our existing policy say that we reimburse at the IRS rate, in which case we don't need to change it. But if the existing policy says, for instance, we reimburse at 54 cents and we want to reimburse at the IRS rate, then we do need to change it. Is that something you can look into, Karen?
Yeah,
And so we'll put that on the, revisit that one next week.
This is from the Attorney General's office, and I'll read it into the record. This is reference State v. Andrew Garland, plea of guilty to death resulting. The New Hampshire Attorney General, Tufton Borough Police Department, Andy Shigori, DEA Special Agent in Charge, Delina, Manchester District Office, DEA, Colonel Wagner, New State Police, announced that Andrew Garland, age 22 of Effingham, pled guilty in Carroll County Superior Court to selling fentanyl that caused the death of Joshua Fournier, age 22 in Tufton. Mr. Garland was sentenced to 12 to 24 years in New Hampshire State Prison. He is also sentenced to additional consecutive suspended prison terms for other drug crimes. On Thursday, September 29th of 2016, Mr. Fournier contacted Melissa Ford, age 28, via text message regarding the purchase of heroin. Mr. Fournier picked up Mrs. Ford and drove her to Effingham, where she met with Mr. Garland and purchased approximately 1/2 gram of heroin fentanyl mixture that she then gave to Mr. Fournier. Joshua Fournier was found dead early in the morning of September 30th of 2016. A subsequent investigation by the police departments and a search warrant executed at Mr. Garland's apartment on October 3rd, 2016 yielded approximately 66 grams of heroin fentanyl drug. Ms. Ford previously pled guilty to a death resulting charge in July of 2017 for her involvement in the death of Mr. Fournier. This successful investigation and prosecution was the result of a joint investigation in collaboration by the Tufton Borough Police Department, the United States Drug Enforcement Administration, and the New Hampshire State Police with the assistance of the New Hampshire Department of Justice Drugs Prosecution Unit. Thank you to these agencies. Thank you, Chief Shigori.
and I can confirm for you that it's based on IRS. I looked it up in the personnel.
So
Okay.
that's already in place.
Yeah.
All right, so we don't have to act on it.
Right.
We do nothing.
Good.
We do the best.
We have activity from the police department for 2013 through 2017. Can I have a copy of that?
Mm-hmm.
This is from Spectrum Enterprise. Clay got a note or an email. Dear Clay, we were informed that the construction job at the transfer station will require an additional street pole to be added for this service. Unfortunately, street poles have longer intervals due to permits that are required and coordination with other providers. The construction estimated will be completed by 5:30 with their tasks. It's my understanding they put it up in 15 minutes the other day. So that's a good progress. We also have updates from Gina on planning ahead for lifeguard and swimming for 2018. It's a work in progress. The Lakes Region Planning Group, group pricing on catch basin cleaning. We also got an update from Lakes Region Planning on the culvert study. I guess there was a slight change in a sentence or two. And it's here. There's correspondence with the coalition communities. Probably when you were a selectman, that was out of Portsmouth, talking about donor town tax or whatever they call it now. And we
1823 or
yeah,
whatever.
and we have two pieces of legislation. One is HB 1810. Did you folks read the letter? It came in.
I
Yeah.
did, yeah.
Do we want to make...
Join in. I think-
We paid dues when it was out of Portsmouth for years. Do we still want
Oh,
to
you
do
were
that?
part of the lawsuit,
Yeah.
and I think this is gonna, if this passes, it'll end up being a lawsuit, because it effectively takes, we're talking about, I think it's a little over $1 million. It's gonna have to be made up in taxes, because the state's gonna keep it. Currently, what happens is the state portion of our tax bill goes to Concord and then comes back to our local school district.
Yes.
And what this bill proposes to do is keep it in Concord, and they'll distribute money however they feel like it. So it's gonna change the school tax portion of the tax bill. So we may be in a lawsuit with some other towns. I mean, it's a significant amount of money.
Yeah, I think that amount of money you talk about is over $900,000 we write a check for each year. They call it statewide real estate tax.
Right. Well, I thought the estimate was just over $1 million in this one, the estimates they gave us there, but, yeah.
Can you read that, what that 1810 is?
This is,
Well, the relevant part.
either I give you a copy of it.
Well, I'm just thinking for people listening, I can look it up later,
Yep.
but
This is from Jane Ferrini, Ferrini. It was received last Friday. It's a follow-up on HB House Bill 1802, Coalition Communities. I attended a work session on HB 1802. Two representatives noted that the issue of donor towns and the study committee. Unfortunately, the chair of the committee, Norman Major, has made several comments during the hearing and in committee that they, quote, made a mistake, end quote, in the late 90s when the statute was drafted during discussions of the current practice of letting communities retain the excess SWEPT, S-W-E-P-T, capitalized. The chairman of any committee is very influential, and these comments could mean that he supports the bill. There's no way to know until there's a vote, but the coalition communities must take action now to have House Bill 1802 killed. The Ways and Means